Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Hey, Charles Dickens saved my life, I can say that.
Charles Dickens saved my life is a sentence I never thought I'd hear while reporting this story. And tell me how Charles Dickens saved your life again?
Oh yeah. So I have like a hardcover anthology from my childhood.
This is Tassim Fahim, a university student. He's an English lit major. But it's not the quality of Dickens' words that saved his life, it's the quantity.
So it has like all of the greatest works of Charles Dickens in a hardcover binding. And it's this thick.
Some of the later novels are very thick.
So I had this placed at the front of my bag. So if I was facing the cops, I would have my bag strapped to my front. It blocked bullets there.
Turns out, all those plot twists and memorable side characters make for a very good bulletproof vest.
If I was running away from them, I would reposition my bag and put it to my back, and it would be there. And that basically saved my back, but it did not save my head from being shot at.
So did you get shot in the
Oh yeah.
the book?
Actually, it's so wonderful. The pellets didn't even penetrate.
That's Bleak House for you, right?
Great expectations, man. Great expectations.
Tassim is one of more than a dozen private university students I met with. All of them were active in the protests of the July Uprising. We're sitting in a circle and they are swapping stories.
There were police on the rooftop. All of a sudden, they opened the gate and fired.
Until mid-July 2024, these were regular students focused on their academic careers, future doctors and lawyers.
The bullet literally crossed between my legs, and I was like terrified.
They don't sound like students anymore. They sound like soldiers.
We heard there were bombs. We gathered, but we couldn't move forward.
In Mirpur, police were shooting from the rooftops. A guy was shot and his body fell right on top of me.
There were like 4 types of weapons. I saw Springfields, M139s, then Ty-57 and Kalashnikovs. The ones the Taliban's used.
When these private university students decided that they were all in, that they were ready to die for this cause, that was, in hindsight, a deciding factor.
I started to believe that Bangladesh is changing. When private university students, they took the bullet in their chest and they just stood like heroes. They just saved Bangladesh.
This is Al Jazeera Investigates. I'm Kevin Hirten. Welcome to 36 July Uprising in Bangladesh, Episode 3, Point of No Return. When we last left you, Abu Sayyid had just died. The whole country witnessed his killing on July 16th and the haunting image of his bullet-ridden body. His death touched a nerve, and to many, he became an instant martyr. That night, after a violent day of protests and attacks against students, the government made a sweeping move, hoping to contain the anger.
We begin in Bangladesh, where the government has shut down all public and private universities indefinitely. It's the reaction to student protests that have left 6 people dead and scores injured.
On July 17th, police were supported by 2 paramilitary groups, the Border Guards Bangladesh, BGB, and the Rapid Action Battalion, or RAB. RAB is notorious. It's been sanctioned for various human rights abuses during Sheikh Hasina's time in power. At Dhaka University, students ignored the shutdown order and decided that they would hold a ceremonial funeral for Abu Sayyid. In the afternoon, the combined force of police and BGB members surrounded the large and peaceful crowd. They launched dozens of rounds of tear gas and sound grenades. They fired rubber bullets and attacked them with batons. Daily Star journalist Zina Tazreen.
The government, they thought they contained the movement within Dhaka University on the 17th of July. I mean, they asked for the halls to be vacated. They thought that, okay, the problem was starting from the public university. We're shutting them down, so they're no longer together, all of them in one place. So it'll be hard for them to regroup.
Shafiqul Alam was the Dhaka bureau chief for Agence France Presse, AFP. He says at the time, shutting down the dorms seemed like a masterstroke by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
In previous student protests, we have seen that once you vacate the dorm, and once the students have gone back to their rural districts, the protest is over. And honestly, when I was returning to my office, I spoke to a police officer, and he told me, it's over. This protest is over.
Shadiq Kayam, who was one of the key players in the student movement, felt the same way.
On July 17th, when the Dhaka University campus was declared closed, everyone felt hopeless.
They were wrong, and so was Sheikh Hasina.
What the government didn't anticipate is that the private university students would be coming out. And their numbers were larger than the public university students.
A new combatant was about to enter the ring.
Our comrades from private universities resisted like heroes. It was the biggest turning point for the movement.
Just by way of explanation, the two main types of universities in Bangladesh are public and private. Public universities are subsidized. The students who attend them tend to be from poorer backgrounds, more dependent on government jobs, hence the extreme sensitivity to the quota issue that kicked this whole thing off in the first place. See episode 1. Private university students, on the other hand, are children of privilege, traditionally less protest-oriented.
Private university students matter because these are the sons and daughters of elites of the Bangladesh society.
Former AFP bureau chief Shafiqul Alam.
They're the sons and daughters of our top army officers, top civil servant, top businessman. So the whole Bangladesh society openly rebelled against Hasina.
It turned out that for private university students, Abu Sayyid's killing and the subsequent crackdown on the 17th was a bridge too far. The government could tell this was a potentially catastrophic development. The next day, the 18th of July, all hell would break loose.
On the 18th, at around 11 a.m., we started getting all sorts of images that private university students, they have hit the streets in a coordinated way in all parts of the city.
The whole movement was taken over by private universities.
Ayatollah Beheshti was a student leader.
Immediately, we divided the whole Dhaka city into 5 sectors to fight this government.
One of the goals of the protesters was to disrupt traffic, which in Dhaka is bad enough on a calm day. But if you can choke off key arteries, you can easily shut down the city. And they had the numbers to do it. Because he works for the press, Shafiqul Alam says he tried to get a sense of just how many student protesters there were.
So I immediately called the Dhaka Metropolitan Police spokesman, and he knows me.
He says normally the police tend to underplay the numbers. He expected them to say 10,000.
He said, on record, some 200,000 students hit the roads on that day. I think on the 18th, it was the highest number of protests we have seen in recent memories.
Back at the Konopopan, the official residence complex in the center of Dhaka, Sheikh Hasina is watching all of this play out. She knows this is serious, that this is not your average protest. She's determined to take back control. According to UN investigators, this is the point when security forces switched to a lethal force paradigm. They used rifles, pistols, and shotguns.
They just shot at us, point blank, shooting at heads, shooting in the eyes. They're just killing us.
This private university student said it was a bloodbath.
They were just massacring people. And we as students, as a normal human being, we have the moral high ground to stand and fight for ourselves. This is our motherland. We have to fight for this.
Daily Star reporter Zina Tazreen.
18th was a very bloody day. At least 25 private students were killed. And the police went inside the university campuses and shot. It wasn't just on the streets.
It was becoming clear to Sheikh Hasina the presence of the private university students was a game changer. These were supposed to be the comfortable ones, the children of privilege, future leaders. How could she get them to retreat? The AJI unit has obtained a phone call between Sheikh Hasina and the mayor of Dhaka North, in which she talks about punishing the universities and pulling diplomas.
Today I summoned all the vice-chancellors.
Good work, but they need to be told something. How dare the small school children come to the streets? They need to be told that if they allow the students to join the protest, the students will not receive any degrees or certificates, just like America, and they will not receive any government grants.
What she failed to realize was, by this point, university degrees were the last things on these students' minds. They were in a life or death struggle.
She has broadly misunderstood the situation.
This man was a high-ranking intelligence officer with direct contact with Sheikh Hasina. He agreed to speak only on the condition of confidentiality, so we've had an actor read his words.
The problem was that many used to misguide her, especially her party people. And some of the government intelligence also used to tell her what she wanted to listen to only.
He's saying that she was only listening to what she wanted to hear, and that she was absolutely convinced that the students were just a front, being manipulated by opposition parties, Bangladesh National Party and Jamaat-e-Islam.
I talked to her on this issue many a times. I said, this is not Jamaat-e-Islam. Maybe they are at the back, but you see the people who are against you on the street. All are common people. I used to collect all videos of those atrocities where there is a collision between police and the students.
And when he collected video of the protesters, he would sometimes see people he knew, people who were not political opponents or activists.
I used to see the common people, and many of them I know, people are coming out from the streets, children of my colleagues or my senior officers, so I know many of them.
But he said she just wouldn't listen.
It was difficult for us to make her understand that at this moment, the common people are on the street against her.
And the actions of her security forces were bringing more and more common people to the cause with every passing hour. On the 18th alone, hundreds of protesters suffered gunshot wounds, and several were killed. Shabir Sharif is an emergency medicine doctor.
The patients who were brought dead were in a horrible state. Most had been shot in the chest or in the head. There weren't many options for treatment. I still remember a boy who came in. He was extremely pale. His friends who brought him were saying, do something, do something. We looked for a pulse, pressure, but we couldn't find anything. We couldn't find any wounds either. But then we unbuttoned his shirt and found it. A bullet had entered and exited through his chest. He had died.
The hospitals were filling up with the injured and dying. And even worse, many patients weren't getting to the hospital at all. Prosecutor Tajul Islam.
In many cases, the Satru League and the Awam League people, they did not allow the injured persons to get into the hospital and get treatment.
At his gallery, photographer Shahidul Alam shares one of the iconic photos of the July Uprising. It's a young man lying dead on a rickshaw.
They're trying to take him to hospital, but in fact he died because the rickshaw could not go to the hospital. Not only did they shoot him, they denied his treatment. The photographer, he was choking up when he talked about it. The fact that this man was still alive at that time, he lied to the mother because he didn't want her to know that her son was still alive and bled to death.
For female students like Shajadi Kotha, the dangers on the streets didn't end with shootings and blocked access to the hospitals.
Someone was walking from my side and he was saying that you are a girl, we will kill boys, we don't know what we do with you.
Who said this?
The Chhatro League.
The UN documented cases where female protesters were sexually assaulted by Awami League supporters.
He was walking and he's laughing and saying, we will kill the boys, but you don't know what will happen with you.
Oh my God.
Because you are a girl, be safe. This reminds me that he can rape me, and they have done it.
On the 18th, things came to a head when protesters stormed the headquarters of Bangladesh TV in the Rampura neighborhood.
Bangladesh Television, BTV.
They burned vehicles and set part of the building on fire while staff were still in the building. The uprising had reached a point of no return. Senior officials would later tell the UN that at a meeting the next day, July 19th, Sheikh Hasina ordered security forces to kill protesters, to quell the protests, and specifically demanded, quote, arrest the ringleaders of the protests, the troublemakers, kill them, and hide their bodies. Later that night, she ordered a national curfew and decided to finally call in the big guns. She deployed 27,000 soldiers into Dhaka city. And if you know anything about Bangladesh's history, you'll know this was a massively consequential decision to make. We'll have more on that after a quick break.
Get your news in less than 3 minutes, 3 times per day with the Al Jazeera News Updates. Just ask your home device to play the news by Al Jazeera or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm back with producer Tamara Khandaker.
Hey, Kevin.
So, Tamara, when we last left off, Sheikh Hasina had decided to call in the army. Now, this would not be a decision she would make lightly.
No, you wouldn't think so. Because Sheikh Hasina actually started out in politics opposing the military's control of Bangladesh.
So, as a Bangladeshi yourself, you grew up kind of learning about the history of the country. A history that's really intertwined with Hasina's own life story and that of her party, the Awami League. Now, you've been identifying a few dates in the past that can help explain kind of this central riddle here. How she transformed from the honored daughter of the founder of the country to the villain of the July Uprising. So what date do you have today?
February 27th, 1991. It's election day in Bangladesh, and the energy is electric. It's the first fully free and fair election the country's had in 16 years. One of the leading candidates is a 43-year-old Sheikh Hasina. For the past few weeks, she's been campaigning to be the country's next prime minister. Hasina's presence on the ballot and that an election is even happening is a minor miracle. In the years since her father's assassination, Bangladesh had been thrown into chaos. It faced coup after coup until a military takeover by General Mohammad Ershad, a brutal, repressive dictator.
Every country has its own social system. So keeping that in view, I requested the government that let the army have a say in the affairs of the country.
Ershad dissolved parliament, suspended the constitution, and ruled by martial law for more than 4 years. He banned political parties and gutted civil liberties. And in a move that would have enraged Hasina's father, he declared Islam the state religion. Hasina played a key role in the resistance.
This is not at all an election.
She brought her father's Awami League party back from the brink, rallied students, and built coalitions, joining forces with her political rival, Bangladesh Nationalist Party leader Khaleda Zia.
You know what the state of the country is. Martial law is in force in the country today.
In her speeches, she invoked the spirit of 1971 and the revolution led by her father. And even before she held real power, her voice and the sense of unfinished struggle, it stirred something in people.
In this country, there are no fundamental human rights, no right to life, no freedom of speech, no freedom of the press.
Throughout the 80s, Hasina was arrested, surveilled, dragged in and out of house arrest. But she never stopped campaigning for the end of military rule. In October 1990, protests erupted across the country. Ershad's grip on power was slipping. By December, the pressure became too much. Ershad resigned, ending nearly a decade of military rule. And that brings us back to Election Day 1991. The BNP will win by a small margin, but Hasina will get a lot of the credit for bringing back democracy. This moment, the first free election in over a decade, is the culmination of everything she's fought for. This is Hasina at her best, youthful, determined, principled. Her rise was forged in opposition to a military-backed government. But more than 30 years later, as she approached the end of her time in power, the military had hardly been driven out of politics. And on July 18th, it was the military she turned to, not to take power, but to enforce it on her behalf.
So tell me where we are.
We are at the AFP office at Karun Bazaar.
This is Reza Lenin. He's a well-known figure in Dhaka. He's a human rights researcher who helped document the abuses of the uprising for posterity.
The largest wholesale markets are here, and at the same time, all the media houses, particularly the newspaper media houses.
This is where most of the international media have their Dhaka bureaus. In mid-2024, this place was a hive of activity. Obviously, there was a lot of news to cover, and much of what you were seeing in the global press came from this very spot. Everyone knew Sheikh Hasina wanted to stop bad news from traveling, but shutting off the internet completely still seemed far-fetched. Here's Zina Tazreen.
We were hearing that the internet might be shut down, but I really didn't think that she would actually follow through on that.
In the evening of July 18th, the rumor became reality.
And I was in the middle of sending back a report, and that's when I couldn't do it, and I didn't know what to do, and we had deadlines. So what do we do now?
In an instant, the whole country goes dark. No more Facebook, no more news reports. It affects the students' ability to organize, and it affects reporters' ability to report. And for Reza Lenin, it keeps the world in the dark about what he saw as human rights abuses happening in Bangladesh.
The regional and international agencies who are working independently on human rights issues, we need to report them back.
That's why we're here, because once this country went dark, there was a beacon of light beaming into the rest of the world, and it came from this building.
This building at the 11th floor. So this is a backside of this building.
We're going in the back way, like Goodfellas style, through the kitchen of the Copa.
Yeah. I came here several times to have access to internet during the curfew and also during the shutdown. Some people, particularly the journalists, everyone knew that this is the place where the internet is available.
Actually, it was available in only one specific office in this building.
I discovered that our AFP office is the only office in Dhaka which has internet.
This is former bureau chief Shafiqul Alam, who's now press secretary to the chief advisor, Muhammad Yunus. It turns out that satellite connection they had installed paid off in a big way.
We have a VSAT connections, and we never trusted that this is going to work, but somehow it worked. And this is a blessing, I would say.
Word quickly spread that they had a portal out, a way to actually send stories, photos, and evidence to a world that was hungry for trusted news of the uprising. Rather than press his advantage over his competitors, Shafiqul decided he would share the wealth at great personal risk.
For the next few days, I was working like a conductor.
Reza Lenin says in those days, every journalist and human rights researcher in town eventually made their way to the AFP offices.
50, 60, 70 people were coming and in a row to have an internet.
We are rationing time to New York Times, to AP, to Al Jazeera, to Guardian, to Washington Post, to Reuters.
Publicly, Sheikh Hasina tried to blame the student protesters for the shutdown. But in this July 19th phone call obtained by the AJI unit, Hasina makes it clear it was her own telecom commission, BTRC, that turned off the internet.
BTRC has turned off the internet. The British High Commissioner has asked when it will be restored. I told them that it has been burned down during the movement. It will take time.
Al Jazeera has obtained secret government orders which confirms who took Bangladesh offline. As early as July 15th, Bangladesh's telecommunications regulators started blocking the internet at Dhaka's universities. By the next day, they'd blocked web access at 59 universities and over 200 sites. From July the 18th, Sheikh Hasina's covert monitoring unit, the NTMC, took control of blocking the web. It wasn't the students. It was a coordinated attempt by the government to shut down debate, shut down dissent, stop the uprising.
By controlling the internet and access to the certain social media, you are doing a crime against humanity. So that was a serious stuff.
So you're saying not only were they committing crimes against humanity on the streets by killing people, but the very act of shutting off the internet itself was a crime against humanity.
Yes.
For Sheikh Hasina and her government, one benefit to shutting off the internet was to control the narrative.
All the TV channels were blasting the message that, okay, students call off movements, okay, normalcy has returned.
Facebook is dead. And the TV stations are all controlled by the government. They are showing that things are normal, the student protest is over. The whole narrative in the TV was congratulatory.
And it wasn't just for domestic consumption. While the government was flooding the airwaves with happy talk of calm streets, we've obtained evidence that the government was also pumping propaganda to the outside world. This is a phone call between Salman F. Rahman and an unknown colleague. Rahman was one of Bangladesh's wealthiest men. He's in jail now, but at the time, he was one of Sheikh Hasina's closest advisors. The unknown colleague does most of the talking.
Last night, we sent a team to the border, to Benapol. They are uploading content, and it's getting massive views. On YouTube and Facebook, it's getting a huge number of views.
They're talking about a scheme where they would travel to the border of India to upload videos.
Since early morning today, we have been uploading content from the border using Indian SIM cards, so people outside the country are getting some things from our country. The clip you sent, we uploaded it first, and within 10 minutes, it got 70,000 views from outside the country.
Salman F. Rahman reminds him that what they upload needs to be highly sanitized. No dead protesters, just damage caused by protesters.
Don't show the clashes with the police, just show the damage they have caused.
Yes, we will only show how massive anarchy took place.
So controlling the narrative is one reason. Another reason for the internet shutdown is to stop the students in their tracks. The rationale was actually pretty sound. After all, this was a Gen Z uprising. They were raised online. Take away their phones, take away Facebook, and the movement might fold up like a tent. Well, that didn't happen, and the students once again proved to be a much nimbler opponent than the government anticipated.
It was horrible because we did not know what's happening around the country.
For student organizer Raihan Uden, whose job it was to write policy papers and press releases for public consumption, the lack of internet was especially challenging. To survive, the students learned to embrace the analog traditions of their ancestors.
You use text messages. You would put your entire press release on a text message.
So it was done by some of our key leaders. They wrote the whole press release in the text message, like one by one line, 2 line, 3 lines, like that, and texted them to journalists, to some international journalists. So it was something we felt ancient time, how people communicated before smartphone.
Yeah, I remember what that was like.
Yeah.
They learned a lot of lessons. Private university student and Charles Dickens enthusiast, Tasim Fahim, learned that text messages, unlike WhatsApp messages, cost money.
I remember my phone bill for just those 2 weeks was, I think,
oh my God,
was close to $40. And
text messaging, like dinosaurs, like we used to do, you know. Yeah.
On the morning of July 19th, we decided to send our plans to media houses. It was very risky.
Shadiq Kayam was a major player in the student movement and a member of the student wing of the Jamaat-e-Islam party. By this point, there was a new threat, one that would come to define the extreme lengths that Sheikh Hasina would go to preserve her own power.
After Friday prayer, everyone was coming out of the mosque to protest. Then Hasina's law enforcement agencies were shooting at us from the helicopters.
Helicopters started to appear in the skies, and the guns were trained on the people below. One student described it as death from above.
There were people who weren't even protesting, just standing on their balconies, and they were shot and killed.
Dhaka University student Ashifa Khatun.
বাড়ির ছাদে ছিল হেলিকপ্টারে গুলিতে মারা গিয়েছে
Others were standing on rooftops. They were also shot from helicopters. These moments were captured on video.
তো এগুলো ভিডিও ফুটেজ আছে
Zina Tasreen.
They were using the helicopter and shooting at civilians. So a 5-year-old child who was playing in a rooftop, she was shot at. Then another child who was just in his room, and a bullet pierced through the wall and hit him, and he just dropped dead. Law enforcement agencies unleashed their full fury.
আমি পার্সোনালি ট্রিটমেন্ট দিছি মানে আমার ডিউটি ছিল
From 16th July to 5th August, I probably treated more than 500 people.
Shabir Sharif is an emergency medicine doctor. He saw the deadly effects of what these helicopters could do up close.
খুবই এখনো বেদনাদায়ক ঘটনা
Another very painful incident. A 15 or 16-year-old boy had gone to the roof of his house with his domestic worker just to see what was going around.
তো ওই সময় আমরা যেটা ধারণা করছি এটা হেলিকপ্টারতে গুলি করছে অথবা খুব দূরের থেকে ফায়ার করছে
He was either shot from a helicopter or from somewhere in the distance. There was a hollow point in his heart where the bullet had entered and exited. From there, it hit the domestic worker, a little girl who was standing right behind him. It hit her in the neck and pierced through.
তখন আমরা যখন পেশেন্ট দুটো আসতো আমাদের কাছে
When they arrived at the hospital, we thought they were both dead. But then we found the boy had a pulse. He was bleeding, but he had a pulse. So we intubated him, put him on life support, and referred him to the ICU. We tried to save the girl, but we couldn't do anything. She was dead.
তার সাথে তার যে হেল্পিয়ার সে তো মারা গেল
The AJI unit has obtained evidence showing that Sheikh Hasina was often operating outside the chain of command, that she was the one calling the shots.
I talked to the army chief. Now we are doing something else, taking images through drones and helicopters at some places.
This is a phone call between Sheikh Hasina and her nephew, a former mayor of Dhaka South.
I've already ordered all of them to be arrested.
If we capture them?
No, that has already been said. RAB, DGFI, I mean everyone has been instructed that wherever they find them, they will catch them.
Looks like one group is heading towards Mohammadpur police station.
Towards Mohammadpur police station?
Yes.
Then send RAB there.
Yes. Then your instructions will be needed.
No, my instructions have already been given. I've issued an open order completely. Now they will use lethal weapons, shoot wherever they find them.
Yes.
That has been instructed. I have stopped them so far. I was thinking about the students' safety.
Prosecutor Tajul Islam.
The Prime Minister is ordering to kill the people by using lethal weapons, and they are peaceful protesters. It is clear that she was determined and she was ordering indiscriminately kill the students and protesters on the ground. It is our own population, they are our own children, and when a Prime Minister ordering to kill these people, it was just a shock. But if you understand the mental status of the Prime Minister, you will find the answer.
We played the call for Dr. Shabir Sharif, who treated the wounds of the victims of these attacks. It's his first time hearing it.
Shoot wherever they find them.
আমি এখনো নিতে পারতেছি না বিষয়টা
We knew she invoked the shoot on sight order. But this is how she gave the order? Like this?
But এইভাবে অর্ডার দিছে, my God.
I still can't process this. I'm reacting to even the sound of her voice.
So, my God. She's a monster. She's a real monster. She's not a human.
Next time on Al Jazeera Investigates, the army giveth, the army taketh away.
We connected with each other on 1st August. No more. Enough is enough.
A consequential decision sets the stage for a showdown between Sheikh Hasina and her own military. Meanwhile, with possible victory suddenly in sight, the danger only gets worse for the students who refused to back down.
Every night we used to think that this might be our last night together.
Join us for episode 4 of 36 July, Uprising in Bangladesh. Al Jazeera's investigative unit approached all parties featured in this series. Sheikh Hasina disputes the authenticity of the phone recordings. She also maintains that the internet was shut down due to the damage caused by protesters. A representative for Chhatra League wrote, "Throughout the entire period, the organization exercised utmost restraint and remained committed to peaceful democratic practices under the strict political direction of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The Awami League and its affiliated organizations were also under strict instructions to avoid any form of confrontation." In a statement to Al Jazeera, an Awami League spokesperson said Sheikh Hasina has never used the phrase lethal weapons and did not specifically authorize the security forces to use lethal force. The statement goes on to say Sheikh Hasina and her former ministers were not personally responsible for or directed the use of lethal force against crowds. And that claims of this nature by United Nations investigators are based on testimony of witnesses handpicked by the interim government, unsupported by proper evidence, and denied in their entirety. They call the International Crimes Tribunal and the prosecution being conducted by prosecutor Tajul Islam hopelessly compromised. They also point out that it wasn't only protesters killed during the uprising. Dozens of police lost their lives, and the Awami League says 144 officials were killed. This episode was written and produced by me, Kevin Hirten, and Tamara Khandaker, with Craig Pennington, who is also our audio editor. Additional editing by Manny Panarertos. Clean Cuts did the final sound mix. Black Box did original music for this series. Will Thorne is the executive producer, and Ney Alvarez is Al Jazeera's head of audio. We will see you next time.